Yeah. My lesson there was I didn't make a killing off that first deal. I learned to take the risk and learned real estate because of that first deal. So that first deal had a huge impact on me, not because of the deal financially, but because of what I learned from it.
Welcome to the Threefold Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the podcast where you'll not only learn how you can achieve massive success in multifamily real estate investing, but also how you can simultaneously pursue great relationships with your family and a better walk with God. You can achieve financial freedom through real estate investing without sacrificing the relationships that mean the most to you. Now, here's your host, Lee Yoder.
Welcome back, Threefold listeners. I hope you're having a great week. We've got a great guest with us today, Phil Moeller. He's actually a buddy of mine. We've gotten to know each other pretty well over the past year or so, and he's local to me here. So he's up north of Dayton and Maria Stein, tiny little country town, football powerhouse up there. But a little bit about Phil, and then we'll bring him in. Yeah, that's right. Phil's going to brag about that if I give him a chance. But so Phil has done a bunch of deals, totaling over 15 million, 430 units total. He sold some of those, got about 375 active. Done a lot of like mid-size multifamily and just built a really nice portfolio. He and his wife actually manage it together, so I want to talk a little bit about that. Phil, you've done a lot more than that. We'll get into it, but welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to be here, and from north of Dayton, middle of nowhere, but strong work ethic, core values, and a good football team too, as you said.
So Phil, take us back though. What were you doing before you got into real estate, and why'd you get into real estate? What got you interested in it?
Yeah, so first, small town entrepreneurial community, grew up in an entrepreneurial family as well. So I was just always kind of interested in business for myself. Didn't know what that looked like. Back in probably 2010, 2011, started thinking about real estate, but hadn't done it yet. At that time, we were just about to have our first child, my wife, Marcia, and I. Our first child was in 2011. I was working a corporate W-2 job as a product manager here locally. And always looking and thinking about different things. So I started evaluating real estate really heavily, I think in 2011. Didn't buy my first single family house until 2013. But and the motivator behind it was kind of twofold, not threefold. There you go, Lee. How about that? One was my wife was a hairstylist. There's some evenings and weekend work associated with that. So if we could, actually it was a good thing because she could slowly work less if we started to build some passive income on the side. At that time, that's what we were thinking. So we were able to do that slowly. And that was the first motivation. And then I had this long-term plan of hopefully being able to leave my W-2 as well myself. But the first priority was, as we were starting to have kids, can we get her to have a little bit better work-life balance and better hours?
Yeah, I love that, Phil. And you and I, we'll get into more of this later because, I know we're both proponents of people getting into real estate, even passively, just doing a little bit. And you're not going to make a ton. And I talk about this a lot, that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, especially if you do it passively. But you can get your money to work for you so that you don't have to. And I always say, you're not going to retire anytime soon if you start investing passively. Like if you just start putting in a little bit. But you might make an extra 10 grand a year in a year or two. And what can 10 grand a year? I mean, 10 grand a year. Yeah, it could be somebody working part-time instead of full-time, somebody cutting back on their hours, being able to run the kids around more. 10 grand a year is a couple really nice vacations, maybe 3 vacations, right? 10 grand a year might be sending the kid to private school. So that's a great picture of, it didn't set your world on fire, but just your wife being able to pull back just a little bit and not have to hustle so hard outside the home because she's already hustling hard enough inside the home.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing you mentioned is passive income and working and the persistence of building income and wealth long-term is really important. Yeah. When I think about active versus passive income, you mentioned that. I think about, a W-2, maybe real estate. There's a spectrum of kind of vertical income that you're trading time for money to horizontal income or passive income where you're really just investing and bringing money in. And it's, I would call flipping houses more active, maybe self-managing, a little bit more passive, but still kind of this diagonal income,
Pretty active.
hiring a manager, third-party management, maybe eventually hiring a CEO, and then just purely passive investing. There's a spectrum of
Yep.
active to passive investing. And early on, we were certainly more active. We're still active. We're still work a lot, but very active self-management, doing some of the work ourselves. And that's changed over time. So it's been a journey for sure. We've done it together, and we're kind of continuing to work to move along that spectrum.
Yeah, let's put out your story a little bit, Phil. So 2011, you start educating yourself. 2013, you do your first deal with just buying a single family home, kind of renovate it and rent it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. So 2000, I probably started looking really at deals and trying to build relationships with just single family real estate agents in the Sydney, Ohio area where I worked. And I probably started looking at deals 2012 really heavily. Yeah. I'm an engineer by trade, so analysis paralysis. I was looking at that first deal. Everything, like the utility cost during a 2 or 4 week vacancy, like just stupid stuff. And I almost didn't get that first deal for $1,000 because of just over analyzing it. And you know, my lesson there was I didn't make a killing off that first deal. I learned to take the risk and learned real estate because of that first deal. So that first deal had a huge impact on me, not because of the deal financially, but because of what I learned from it. And it's so important for people to take action to learn, not necessarily to like, what will I get out of this first deal? A lot of times you're going to get way more from what you learn from it versus what financially that specific property brings back.
And right side by side with learning, it's the momentum. It just built. I mean, inertia is such a powerful force. It's hard to get moving, but once you get moving, it's hard to stop. So just getting that first, just getting things moving. Yeah, again, it's that kind of that proof of concept, building confidence. So many things that go into momentum. So you're 100% right. You don't need to hit a home run. If you can hit a single, even if you just break even, you're going to go, man, but next time I know I'm going to do well because I know exactly why I only broke even. So I know I'm going to do better next time.
Yep. And that's a perfect transition to kind of the next deals, because whether it was, I forget, but a year and a half, overanalyzing things. I buy the first deal. 3 or 4 months later, I buy the second deal. 3 or 4 months later, I buy the third deal. And I don't know if it was the fourth or fifth deal, the next aha moment was we bought it was a sheriff's sale. We offered with our HELOC cash, quick close, 2 weeks. We bought it for like 50. We put 10K of improvements into it, brought it to the bank to finance it, appraised at 80. And all of a sudden we're in it for $0. And now I'm thinking, okay, I don't need to keep funding this all myself. We can scale by using the Burr method if people have heard of that. And I was like, okay, I can maybe even accelerate this more. So that was in the 2014, 2015 timeframe. We did another year or so of single family, and then we started looking into multifamily at that time.
What was your portfolio? What'd your portfolio get up to, Phil, of single families? Do you remember?
If I count single families and duplexes, I want to say it was around 20 or 21 buildings, 25 units.
Got it. Okay, that's a lot. So, I mean, that's a lot. And you guys are managing this yourself. By this time, Phil, is your wife doing this? Tell us a little bit about what that look like, managing those, 20 buildings, 25 units. You guys are doing it in-house. Is this mostly your wife? What's it look like? And then do you get to this point where you go, man, we're, whatever it is, a quarter of the way, halfway there to kind of that financial freedom goal. I don't want to do this again. I want to start going bigger, just kind of what was your mindset? Where were you guys at that point?
Yeah. So I want to say the first 3 or 4, I probably self-managed. I was working full time. So that became a little bit more work, maybe 5 to 7 units range. My wife and I started talking about, hey, what if you just scaled back and didn't work Wednesday evenings or Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, and I forget the details. She also had flexibility in the morning. She started doing the leasing and the management of them. We were big on systems and processes out of the gate, setting them up so we could just streamline things as much as possible. A lot of things we set up in 2013 and 2014, we still use today. Certainly they've evolved. We still use them.
You guys. Yeah, that's impressive.
And I mean, today we have, I want to say 15 of those doors. That's really, my wife manages those. And then our short-term rental is her focus, kind of new, exciting project for her. And those 15 doors with our processes are just very, very minimal work for her on a regular basis. So,
but at the time, what would it look like? Were those 20? She handled that pretty well. And then what was your thought process, Phil, moving forward? Hey, I want to do another 20 buildings like this, or I want to go more multifamily?
At 12 doors, I was thinking, okay, we could, and I'm making these numbers up. I don't remember the exact, but at 12 doors or 15 doors, we might have been thinking, hey, we can have 50 to 60 single family. And maybe at 15 to 17 doors, we're thinking this is so much work, and I'm exposed to getting exposed to multifamily, trying to learn it. But I never understood multifamily and the value add component and opportunity of it until I did it. I just didn't understand how much control you have over the potential value and equity in multifamily. When I was
you hit a ceiling, and maybe it's different for everybody. I'm sure it's like the better your processes are, the further you can run it out and say, hey, I can keep gobbling up single family homes. But most people at some point, for you, maybe it was at 15, 17. I mean, I still think that's quite a bit to get to that point before you say, man, this doesn't feel that scalable. Like, I don't want to keep doing this. You know, what else is there? But you kept running out a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I mean, I didn't do near that much. We did one flip at one duplex, and then got in a multifamily, but probably because, I knew guys.
I'm a slow learner, Lee.
Well, yeah, but what helped? I mean, that's what they say. Having a network collapses time frames. I was just talking to the people that said, "Dude, stop doing that. Go here." And people like you, and now that's what you're doing, Phil. You're educating people. And again, I still always say you can build an incredible portfolio that can retire you and your wife, and you can live an incredible life with a very small portfolio. If you manage it yourself, you build systems, processes, single families, the small multis, you can do awesome. But it's just totally different than doing multifamily. But Phil, you were saying how you didn't understand multifamily. I mean, when you're doing single families and small multis, like buying an apartment building seems like so different, such a high mountain to climb. So it sounds like you were there. I was there. I'm sure some of the listeners are. What got you past that? What did it take? Because I know, you did much bigger deals. What did it take to break down that barrier and actually get into it?
Yeah, for sure. We around 23, 24 doors, whatever it was, we're thinking, okay, it's time to shift to multifamily. And then I would say it was deciding to do it, and then a little bit of luck. So we went to a GD Real Estate Investment Association, so Dayton Real Estate Investment Association meeting. I don't know if it was our first or second one. Someone's like, hey, I have a deal. They needed support with financing. So my business partner and I, he had a similar portfolio, we talked to this gentleman, helped structure and set up the financing, kind of just talked through how the partnership would be. The person that had this deal only had single family experience as well. So we brought a fourth person in that had multifamily experience. So there's 4 partners on that first deal, a 48 unit in Xenia, Ohio, of all places. And we had that. We had a strong renovation budget. We hired a property management company, and in 13 months, we bought that, did the capital, and then sold it after a nice value add. And then we took that money and 1031'd it into our next bigger deal, which was my partner and I, and we were kind of off to the races. So yeah, a little bit of luck, I would say,
But networking, putting yourself out there, networking, and then taking advantage of an opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we brought in a partner that had experience in it. Could have we figured it out ourselves? We probably would have. It probably wouldn't have went as smoothly as it did. And that was, 13 month, and we still get along great. That partnership, we don't work together, but everyone gets along great. And it was a good deal to do together.
What was the decision like for you guys not to manage it? Did you want to, and your other partners didn't? Or did you guys say, hey, it's too far? Because you're pretty far north of Dayton. This is east of Dayton. So was it too far? I mean, what was...
Yeah, good. And so this one was too far. Our plan was to have a third-party management company the entire time. Interestingly, the next property bought was a 16 unit in Troy, which is closer to where we are. And for 6 to 9 months, we did have a third-party management company managing that. That didn't go as well. Just the property manager's proximity to the property. We were starting to learn how to manage properties even more and more with our single family portfolio. So we're like, do we take this over? And we took it over, and, just have made drastic improvements to that property since. And our economic occupancy is just phenomenal. We run it really well, awesome. Super responsive to 10 customer service. So on the next one, we started with third party, but then we went to our own in-house management. And that's what we've done since then for our properties north of Dayton.
But Phil, so there were kind of some progression. First, it was like you had that analysis paralysis. You were bought into real estate. You wanted to get into it, but it's scary to get started. You finally do get started. You do a single family. You get the proof of concept. Man, we bought that. You get a renter in. You kind of keep doing that. There's some other proofs of concept. You do one where you're able to get all of your money back out. So you're into the property for nothing, and you're making money off of it with a renter. You build up a portfolio. You start getting your own property management going. Your wife's doing it. You guys building out systems, and okay, we can scale this a little bit. You scale it pretty big. I mean, for a single family and small multi portfolio that you're managing yourself, 25 units is a pretty good number. But then seeing that, man, we could do a lot more. And then you go and, do a 48 unit, right? So you have 25 units in 20 buildings, and then you go get one building or one property. I think that one's 3 buildings, but 48 units on one property. And so now you're seeing the scale. You do well with that. You get a taste of third party. But then it's like when you get into multifamily and you're able to manage it yourself, it feels like that was kind of the final thing. Like, man, now we're unstoppable. Now we can really scale, because now we can buy more units at a time and manage it ourselves and build a really awesome portfolio, which is exactly what you guys have done.
Yeah. And really with that first 48 unit, the reposition for 13 we sold it in 13 months, which means we really started to understand the potential value in month 4, 6, 8, and 10. We're like, okay, the value add, the control of operations in multifamily, and the ability, basically you're running a small business that you can add value to it if you improve the net operating income or NOI, and it's sold at the cap rate. That I had studied that, but it just clicked. And every month as we improved operations more and more, you're looking at what the value of the property could be. And the light bulb went off, like, okay, this is scalable for both the potential for cash flow and equity growth. And from there, we bought the 16 unit and then the 70 unit, and then, some 20 and 10 unit, just medium sized stuff, but then another 70 unit over time, 60 unit property.
Yeah, Phil, you were just making me think. I don't know if I've ever thought about it exactly like this, but most people stay for a year, but often more. And I think the smaller, probably, especially single families, that's one of the benefits of them, that you might get somebody that stays 20 years. It's a house; it can become their home. That can be good and bad, because if rent is going up, especially in an inflationary environment like we're in today, it's a good thing sometimes to have people move out, because market rent might have jumped up $100, $200, in some of these value adds. When you got a 48 unit, people are moving out every single month. And when you're trying to add value, and when you buy a property where rent is significantly under market rent, that's a really good thing, because you can renovate units, you can make the property nicer, and every month you're seeing, boom, that unit just went up $50. Boom, they just moved out. That one went up $100. And I mean, yeah, you can just really elevate the value of the property quickly.
And interestingly, our strategy on multifamily is to continue to just kind of do incremental rent increases every year. Where a single family, we're like, look, if it's going well, let's just, be very cautious, because those increases don't impact the value of the property at all.
Yeah, right.
It's when that tenant moves out, it's vacant, you clean it up, you fix it up maybe, and then you're going to have a single family emotional buyer that likes that house. It's not a business. So multifamily, you got to be more consistent. Whereas single family, and we're probably the people now that aren't raising rents, and other people are buying houses saying, why is that person's rent so low? It's because for us, it's steady. We have a good tenant base, and there's this balance of managing and prioritizing time versus money that kind of,
it's a different strategy. No, it totally makes sense. That's good stuff. Well, Phil, I want to transition a little bit. We've hit on it, but I want to dig in a little bit on having your wife as the property manager, and you were doing it, and then you transitioned to her. What's that been like? How is it at home? Now, like, working together. I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's hard to not talk about the business too much. I mean, now it sounds like you guys, kind of rolling, but over the years, during some of the hard times, during some of the building phases, what was that like, working with your wife in that capacity?
Yeah. So I guess this will be my perspective. It'd be interesting to hear her. Of course, we talk about it. It's been great. It's been really cool to build it together. Like our roles have gotten more and more clear over the course of time. She quite frankly, she just executes and gets things done. I mean, she just goes. I kind of analyze and think about things and build systems and do that type of work, where she executes and gets stuff done. There was a point, I want to say, we laugh about it now, and like 5, 6, 7 years ago, where she's like, she's a hairstylist. It's just a very different industry, and she's like, I didn't sign up for this. And she's doing a little bit of hairstylist, a little bit of leasing, and now she's become like this rock star at it. Like, she's mentoring other people, she's helping them out, she's talking to them. But our property manager really talks to her on a daily basis just to ask questions. By the way, it wasn't all roses. Like, it can be a grind. But we talk about it a lot. We try not to talk about it too much in the evenings, but of course our kids are exposed to it. my office is in our house. So there's exposure, and I think that can be a good thing. So it's been fun to build it together. More and more again, I'm doing some different things now, and she's kind of overseeing some of the day to day, but I'm involved as well. And it's
awesome.
It's been good. And she's has some different projects she's doing that she's excited about. So
yeah, I love hearing that. Similar to our experience, it is difficult, but man, yeah, it's worth it. I mean, to have the family integrated in that way, we're like, you're not separate. It's not like, hey, dad's leaving and he goes and does this work and we have nothing to do with it. It's all, your family's like really integrated in it, and you and your wife especially.
And we've been able to build a good, our contract, we have a lead contractor that's just phenomenal, that just takes care of us and we take care of them. We have our property manager is awesome right now. We've tried to build the processes and systems. So it's been good. And I would say, there was a lot of work, but we have, as a family now, a phenomenal amount of flexibility too. We still work plenty, but we just have so much flexibility, and she sees that, I see that. And the grind, the work, the effort, the sweat, all the stuff we put into it, it's been worth it. When
you said that she's like, I didn't sign up for this, that reminded me. I mean, my wife said that, multiple times in some way or another. So take me back to it, Phil. How did she feel about real estate in general? Like in the beginning, was she fearful of it? Did she see the potential?
She wasn't fearful, and she didn't see the potential, but I probably didn't early on either. Like I probably didn't really grasp it or understand it until, and I managed the first couple, and then maybe 3, 4, 5 properties in, the market was going up. So that was good that, we had a little bit of cash flow from the properties that were stable, and she just started to see it. And if we bought a property, we'd say, hey, we'll buy this property. Maybe you can cut back Wednesday night hours, or we buy this property, you can cut back Saturday mornings if we get to this number. So she wasn't worried about it or fear for it, because she knows I'm the analytical one. And she's like, look, if you think it's a good idea, just go do it.
That still requires a lot of trust. I mean, you built that up. Obviously, you guys have been together, and she'd seen believable behavior. My wife always says time plus believable behavior equals trust. So your wife had that with you. But man, I like that tactic. There's so many, I feel like there's a lot of guys out there. Myself would be one of them, like, hey, I want to get into real estate, but my wife's not into it and I can't get her on board. I think what you did is like, look, if we buy one house, that means you don't have to do Wednesday nights. If we buy a second house,
I don't know if it was that strategic or not.
Well, it makes sense though. Not that everybody's wife is a hairdresser working nights and weekends, but if there's something like that, or you say, hey, if we get this duplex and it's bringing this much in, then we get to go to Florida for spring break, next year, a couple of years. I mean, because it really can work like that. It really can provide that extra income that you could spend on stuff like that.
Whatever I did, I guess it worked. I'll say that if I told her 10 years ago that you're going to be overseeing like 200 properties in Troy and different markets, she would probably say, you are completely out of your mind. No thanks. So we progressed into that, I guess.
With all the experience that you've had, with the success that you've had, I know now you're doing some more like just passive investing. You've done well enough to kind of capitalize on some equity, and now you're investing in other people's deals and seeing the benefit of that. You're passionate about educating others. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you've got your website up and going. It's your last name, Moeller, R-E as in realestate.com. So it's MOELLERRE.com. We'll put that in the show notes. You have on your website, Phil, I really like this. It says, our mission is to help people like yourself pursue financial and time freedom so you can focus on what's most important to you. We provide this through mentorship, education, and real estate investment opportunities. Love that vision there, Phil. Just tell us a little bit more about that, what you're interested in doing and how you're helping people.
I've been in self-development kind of junkie, whatever you can call it, for 10 or 15 years. I don't know how long, but just, leadership books, business book, real estate books, mindset books, whatever it might be. And in the corporate world, I exposed a lot of people to those books, and I started to see kind of changes in them. You can't change people, but you can enable people to change. Yeah. And it was inspiring. The challenge with that was I was, trying to be a leader of a team that was pursuing corporate pursuits where I was entrepreneurial. So now what's exciting is I've shifted. I've been able to have success and be really fortunate, but just different people that are thinking about getting into real estate, maybe have 3 houses, 5 houses, mentoring them, meeting with them. We have a real estate meetup that we do on I would say about a quarterly basis, where we bring in, a CPA or maybe some different banks and help people out. And it's just rewarding. It just gives me a lot of energy to do that. So that's exciting. And then on the passive investing, again, I talked about this spectrum, and I'm kind of on all
Yeah.
a lot of the
All
phases
across
of
the
the
spectrum.
spectrum.
Yeah.
I'm shifting, if I looked at where I was, I'm using hand motions, but for those that you can't see it, but I'm shifting from the more vertical spectrum to, a majority of it is now closer to horizontal income. And for the last 4 to 6 months, we've been really focused on evaluating deals throughout the country. Passive investing, the nice thing is I can evaluate really good operators throughout the country. I can evaluate high growth markets throughout the country.
Right.
Dayton's been great. Troy's been great, but it's not like the Southeast, maybe Texas and other markets, just from a job growth, population growth, appreciation. So I can invest anywhere. And, it's really neat to evaluate. You got to spend a lot of time evaluating these deals and understanding the operators in the markets. But once you do and you submit and, you kind of wire your funds and invest, it's kind of hands off and you get a report and hopefully a check on a quarterly basis too. So we've been doing
interested in helping other people do this as well.
That wasn't the plan, quite frankly. 6 months ago, it was just evaluating this and learning this. And as I got into the space, I'm a lot of us, right? What do I want to be when I grow up? Trying to figure out what my sweet spot is, what I enjoy. I enjoy analyzing, evaluating deals and understanding, deals, markets, operators, networking in the industry, and kind of just influencing and inspiring others to get going, to take the first step. The first action step is, I learned this from a gentleman I work with in my W-2, but what's the best thing that can happen and the worst thing that could happen? And if I look at that very first single family house I looked at, the worst thing that could happen is I buy a $65,000 house and it has like a $500 payment every month. And I have to pay that out of my pocket because everything goes wrong. Or maybe I lose 10 grand or 20 grand. It's not going to.
You're just paying off a mortgage. Worst case scenario, you're paying off a mortgage.
It's not the end of the world, right? The best thing that could happen isn't make $200 in cash flow a month. The best thing that could happen is I learned real estate. I took action. I understood it. I understood the financials. I gained the confidence to go to the next one, right? So taking action creates momentum, as you said it. So that's what I'm excited to do, and try to just inspire people to take that first step. Go do something. And if people love their job, they love what they're doing, keep doing it and put your effort into that. But if you don't, go take action, go do something, whatever that is, real estate, anything.
Yeah.
Just
let your money
take action.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good transition, Phil. I always like to ask my guests kind of toward the end here as we wrap up, what would you say is a key ingredient to be successful in real estate investing?
Yes, taking action, but being persistent, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
It's being persistent, because it's not get rich quick. It's not, you could flip a house and make $30,000, but you got to go do it again. Or you could, if you buy a single family house, you're going to make maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a year in cash flow. It's not going to be life changing. You got to be persistent, consistent. You're going to have challenges. You're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to have your wife say, I didn't sign up for this, whatever it might be. But being persistent, consistent, whatever it might be, with taking action, and the snowball kind of keeps building and building and building and building. And then momentum grows. So I would say persistence is the biggest thing, and educate yourself, learn, develop, grow, all those things. But persistence is probably the one that kind of comes out of the top.
So kind of flipping that question around a little bit, Phil, I know as we've talked, it's obviously, your family is important. I know you're a man of faith. How do you maintain your priorities while having success in real estate investing? So what's a key ingredient there?
The biggest thing about maintaining priorities and balance is keeping priorities and balance as like in front of you on a regular basis, on a daily basis, thinking about it. I don't claim to be great about it, but I'm pretty good. I mean, work generally stops at a certain time. I can take a break. Today we went, from 10 to 2, I kind of had a break in the middle of the day. The kids start school in a couple of weeks. So we went to a lake around here and had some fun there. So the key to balance is really just making it a priority and sticking to it. I feel like there's cycles of this. Like right now, I'm super excited about what we're doing and passionate. So I tend to want to work a little bit more. But if there's cycles where, if it's a quote down cycle from a work perspective, use that as an opportunity to spend even more time or take more days off or do things like that. Where if it's like I'm highly energized by what I'm doing right now. So, I might work a few more hours than I would have otherwise.
Any good book recommendations? Whether it's real estate, business?
I'm sure people have heard Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I've just exposed that to some people recently. And there's people that hadn't read it say it's just, why didn't anyone tell me this 20 years ago?
Oh,
Um,
that was my take on it. Yeah.
I'm going to give you three. The second one is the go-giver. I think that's great. And the third one I see on your shelf as well, but the ruthless elimination of hurry.
Okay.
And it's kind of created this theme for me to it's got different faith-based principles throughout the book, but how do you live a simple but impactful life? And those are two things that don't seem like they line up, but how do I figure out how to do those two things? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Simplify, simplicity, but still impact.
As far as getting a hold of you, I mentioned the website. Again, guys, that's MoellerRE.com. We'll put that in the show notes. Bill, you're pretty active on LinkedIn. Is that the best maybe social media place to kind of follow?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. Email me, Phil@MoellerRE.com is fine as well. Happy to help however I can.
Awesome. Good stuff. Wait, before I let you go, Phil, I always like to ask my guests, how about my listeners and I be praying for you in the coming weeks?
I appreciate that. I would say health and safety, just health and safety of myself and my family.
Well, hey, man, this has been a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun talking to you, catching up. I'm glad I finally got you on the podcast. You've shared a lot of great stuff. You're somebody people should follow. So I encourage people to reach out. If you want to build an incredible portfolio that can change you and your family's life, that's exactly what Phil's done. So reach out to him. But yeah, thanks for being on, man. This has been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it, Lee, and you're doing a lot of good stuff, obviously, as well. I'm sure people know that, but you're the man. Appreciate
it. Thanks, man. Yeah. All right, bud. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode. I hope you'll take action on what you've learned today. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving Lee a 5-star rating and review. And check him out on threefoldrei.com. Until next time, 1 Timothy 6:17.